Steve Bannon recently talking on his podcast to a fellow lunatic. In this case, it was Real America Voice's correspondent, Ben Harnwell. And what facts were they talking about? Well, they were talking about militant secularization. Militant? Where? Well, they claim that there's a real big problem in France. What is it? It's a fertility crisis. Now, I think, why do I care about who's having sex in France, right? They're not making enough babies. And isn't that kind of their business? But of course, it's not just any old babies. As they explain in the clip you're about to watch, it's gotta be a certain kind of baby. Watch.
But Europe has an absolute demographic crisis facing it.
Also, Macron and Merkel don't have kids, right? It's the leadership. Hey, if you want to save the Judeo-Christian West, if you want to save civilization, start by having babies. Simple. Let's start there, right? We'll train them up. We'll get it done, but let's start with having babies.
We'll train them up? Is that why we're having babies? So Steve Bannon can train them up? And if it's just to protect Judeo-Christian heritage, should the Muslims in France not have babies? By the way, if they listened to that, they probably wouldn't have won the World Cup. Okay. But how about atheists? Are they allowed to have babies? How about Buddhists? No, Judeo-Christians. Brett, it was very specific. And I'm not sure that it was an accident.
It's also like he said Western civilization, but then he's like, I think I get in trouble for this one, so then I'll say Judeo-Christian, but then he forgot to get rid of the civilization thing. Like I thought that was amazing. But like, it's weird, like, I don't know of anyone who's gonna be more in the mood to make babies because Steve Bannon was involved in the entire process. Like, I feel like that would take me wanting to do any sexual activity like to a very low level. Like I'm never gonna be able to.
That doesn't get you in the mood?
No.
Hey honey, don't worry, Steve Bannon's gonna train them up. Okay.
That's the other thing, like what are you training them for? Like,
and by the way, so I was born into a Muslim family, I'm atheist now. My wife is Chinese, born into no religion. So does that mean we shouldn't get in the mood? Like, hey, honey, I was thinking maybe we could have a kid. Well, Steve Bannon says that we shouldn't because he needs the Judeo-Christian folks to have babies, but they need to have more babies than us. So we apparently have to have less babies.
This is also the first time that right-wingers have wanted more French people.
Well, look, we're making progress. That's true.
It's a big move from the Freedom Fry era.
Yeah, that's true. And he's like, babies to the barricades. Okay, but let's keep it real, white babies. And guys, if you don't know what the code Judeo-Christian is, it means white. Okay, yeah. So and the reason they threw Judeo in there is for two reasons. Number one, just saying make more Christian babies. Little uncomfortable, right? It does give you a little crusade vibe, right? When you make it Judeo-Christian, somehow it cleans it up. No, now we only hate Muslims, Buddhists, atheists, Hindus, and everybody else. It's okay because we included the Jews. I was talking to a rabbi, actually at the same convention back in 2016 that I ran into Steve Bannon, okay?
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. And the rabbi's actually not a progressive, he's kind of somewhere in the middle, and he said, Cenk, the one thing I'll tell you is, I never heard this Judeo-Christian stuff before, okay? Now all of a sudden, they're all Judeo-Christians, right? I remember, I'm old enough to remember when it wasn't Judeo-Christian. Yeah, it was just Christian.
They don't want to have like the actual like in like their full on like ideology that they have to work for and think through and find like very specific solutions for policy, work it out, make compromises. That's why they gravitate towards stuff like, all right, abortion, let's just go into women's uteruses and make sure we don't have to worry about a baby is just like the most innocent thing we can think about. Don't have to think about it too much. And then like religion, the home of our religions, let's protect it from the heathen like Muslims, which are like a lot of the same characters are in all the books. Like that's the other thing that's weird. But those are the two things that they gravitate toward because of like fundamental apocalyptic theology. And then they just want to keep it simple and not have any responsibility for coming up with solutions that keep people alive after they get born.
Yeah, of course. And so look, there's two really interesting points you made. First of all, Islam is supposed to be, obviously from their point of view, the third book. So and they believe in the Old Testament and New Testament, and they think the Quran is the third book. And so they believe in all of Moses, Abraham, Jesus. In fact, Muslims think Jesus is going to come back. So if you were doing it just based on your religious beliefs, and even if you were doing it based on quote unquote Western civilization, there's an excellent argument to include Muslims in that, right? But conveniently, they get left out, right? It's in the same lineage as opposed to Buddhist and Hindu, which of course we as rational people think there's no issue with that at all. What do we care, right? That's just a different way of thinking. But is at least a different religion entirely and not in the same lineage. So guys, you know this, there's no excuse for it. It's flat out bigotry. And they're trying to create more babies for their side. They don't care about the number of babies in France in total. France is not going to war with India, right? It's not like, oh my God, we need more. And by the way, if they were, trust me, you're not going to have more people than India does or China does, right? Yeah. So that's not the issue here. They're saying create more white babies inside France and inside America, which then brings up Brett's second point that he alluded to. That is why they're pushing the anti-abortion stuff so aggressively now. And you've seen them, Steve King, who's a former congressman, and so many others talk about we're not producing enough white babies. Tucker Carlson talking about the immigrants are going to replace us. So, and if you want white people to produce more babies, well, you would ban abortion. So they're forced to have more white or Judeo-Christian babies.
It's bad. It's so bad. Like and this is from a party that thinks that their ideas are so good and they would just win if you all had a conversation about them. No, they're like, if we had to engage people on the merits of our ideas and our religion and everything like that, they aren't winning that. They literally need to have kids who follow whatever their parents tell them to do. And it's just, I love that little irony from their side.
And last thing here, so number one on the whole Judeo-Christian thing, one more thing on that. Look, do you really think that they want way more Jewish babies?
No.
Come on. And you know what they're thinking? Because they're bigoted. They're thinking, oh, the Jews are powerful. Let's keep them with us. And they're white enough, right? And then at the end, when we've taken care of everyone else, we'll turn on them, right? Yeah. And by the way, I've told you this many times, when we've had correspondents or anyone else turn off the camera and the mic so you can talk to QAnon guys, MAGA guys, at the end of Pandora's box, well, before you get to hope, if you know your mythology, they say, oh, well, you know who's really responsible, the Jews, right? But it's that same anti-Semitism and the tropes that makes them go, no, let's keep the Jews. They're powerful, let's keep the Jews, right? Yeah. And it makes us seem like we're not just saying white Christian babies, so it's a twofer. They're not on the side of the Jews. Are you crazy? Right. Right. But the one thing I'll give ironic credit to Bannon for, they're done with. They took the hood off, right? They're just like, no, we don't want any other kind of babies. We don't like Muslims or Buddhists or anyone else. We're not interested in that. We just want our race and our religion to create more so that we can beat you guys, and not through policy ideas, not in the free marketplace of ideas, but through raw force. And that's why he says at the end, we'll train them up. Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.